Faraz Arif Ansari, director, producer, choreographer, you name it, he's done it, joins us now here on Balma Live. Thank you so much for doing this.
It's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure.
Firstly, we're going to talk about your wealth of work, but firstly, I'm going to ask you, how do you manage to kind of go, okay, I'm a director now, I'm a producer now, I'm a choreographer now. How do you split all that?
Well, actually, I actually started my career when I was, I think, 14 years old, when I just decided, I think when you're born with this inane want to create, you just keep looking for outlets, really, And I think I got my first opportunity when I was 14. And I happened to direct a tiny musical for my school. And I
at the age of 14?
Musical. Sorry, what's that?
At the age of 14?
At the age of 14, yes. And
wow.
When I passed out of school when I was 15 and I moved to the US, and that's when I got an opportunity to direct a musical for one of the local schools in the US. And I think that was when I realized that there's so much more that I have inside me that I want to use and kind of put out in my best potential. And I think that's what started the journey, really. Obviously, I always wanted to make films. I wanted to make films since I was 4 years old, as far as I can remember. So I think it was just a journey of, I think, gradually moving towards that and trying to find find the right people to believe in you, actually. I think that's most important.
But I guess when you're that young, I mean, apart from your close friends, you rely heavily on family. Were they quite supportive of what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I wanted to do. My family wanted me to get in my family business because, that's how it is in India. I mean, when you have family...
Well, trust me, it's like that in the UK as well. Carry on, carry on.
Exactly. I think it's with all Desi people across the globe, they want their children to take their legacy forward. It didn't happen that way in my case, because when I told my folks that I want to get into films, they were actually shocked. They were like, you cannot do that. Like, what happens to our business? But I think eventually they eased out into it and they found a way to kind of, let me do what I want to do. And I think that's how it happened.
Well, we're going to talk a bit about the kind of films you've made, because you're talking about your folks accepting you making movies. But let's go right back to Stanley Ka Daba, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, how did that come about?
So I actually moved from the US to India when I actually, after I finished my graduation, I worked in the US for 2 years. And then I think it was just this want to come back home because I was reading a lot of news about queer people suffering in India. I believe I read this one particular news which there were these 2 girls who were murdered by their own family and thrown inside the sewers to die. And that really shook me up. And I said, what's going on, back home? Because when I was in the US, I actually found my voice being a queer person. I had freedom. I was dating people I wanted to date. But it wasn't the same back home. People were actually suffering. And I wanted to find some sort of way to reach out to the community, to the queer community back home. And the only thing that I know to do is cinema. So I had to move back home. And that's when I got back to India, because I don't come from a film family. It took me a while to break into Bollywood, to find my break into Bollywood. But then it happened, and I actually joined in a course in Bombay where Amol Gupte was teaching, and he was in the midst of directing Taare Zareen Par then. And I happened to show him my diploma film, and he really, really, really enjoyed it. And I think that's how it happened, I mean, he loved it, and he said, why don't you work with me? And I got my first break.
So is it true that Karan Johar's been quite a big supporter of yours, because you're assistant director on Gippy, I think, right?
I was the associate director of Gippy, and Karan was absolutely amazing. Karan actually knew me from Stanley Ka Dabba, because he was one of those people who was very supportive of Stanley when it happened. So it was one of those things that Karan was very supportive of our journey through and through. So that was really cool.
So are you good friends with him? You don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
I used to work for him, so of course I have a great deal of respect for Karan, and he's been very supportive of Sheer Qorma as well. So yeah.
No, Karan is like that. When he sees innovative talent, he does go out of his way to
Yeah.
support it.
Yeah.
And talking about that, there's something. I mean, you made a short film to do with Indo-Pakistan, right?
Oh no no no! That's actually I'm writing a film which is going to be about India Pakistan. I've
Right.
just started researching on it, and actually I'm reaching out to a lot of people and trying to find a way into it. So it's going to take a while because I've just started writing it, and it's a magnum opus in my mind. So it's going to take some while
Well,
for me
no,
to sort it.
when I was reading about it, I thought as much. I thought, wow, this is huge. But what makes you feel like you want to do this? Is it just because it's topical, or is it because it's something that you've always wanted to do? Did you get my
Sorry, I think I
question there?
lost you there for a
Yeah,
second.
no, the connection cut out. I was going to say, in terms of the movie you're making about India and Pakistan, is this something that you always wanted to do, or do you feel like it's timely and it's quite topical?
I actually, I think to be very honest with you, films find a way to you. They find a way to connect with you. They find a way to bond with you. They find, I think, stories reach out to you. It's not one of those things that one really goes out to seek. It comes to you. So I never really wanted to make an India Pakistan film, but it just happens that I'm going to be making an India Pakistan film very soon when the time is right and things align. Because as you know, in Bollywood it's not easy to make a film, and especially when you're trying to make a queer film, it's like the
Yeah.
stars are against you. Everything is not aligning to what you want to do. So it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of people who have to believe in what you're doing, and I think that itself takes some time.
Well, we're going to talk about the whole queer aspect of everything and
Right.
QIA. Um, but I want to just touch on one thing. The Sahib Balke, that was what, Siberia, right? Oh, I think we've lost connection. We're going to see if we can get him back. Hopefully. He will be. We're just waiting for him to come
I'm
back.
back.
Ah, you're back.
I'm back. I don't know what's going on. The connection is really wonky, I believe.
Don't worry, don't worry. It's like that across the world at the moment. So the Dada Saab Balke Award, it's for a film called Siberia, right?
Yeah, I actually. So actually, a lot of people have not seen Siberia because it never really saw the light of the day. It was something of an experiment which I did way
Uh-huh.
back. It was never supposed to go out and anything of that sort. I don't know a lot of people who've actually seen the film as well. So it was an experiment, but hopefully very soon I'll be able to share that experiment with the world.
Well, it's
And
won an award. I think that we all deserve it. You should share it with us.
I know
But
I'm just trying to find the right platform for the film because it's really experimental. It's not queer. It's very dark. It's very brooding. It's almost like it's a mind fuck, if I may excuse my
I don't
Farsi,
know
but
you
it's a
can say
mind
that.
fuck.
I was going to say it's not a reflection of your personality, is it? At all. Yeah.
It's actually one of my really good works, so I actually can't wait to share it.
Well, listen, we're really excited about Sisak. I hope I've said that right. So, I mean, the award ceremonies, the accolades you're getting, it's amazing. Were you nervous getting involved with the whole LGBTQ world? Did you
No,
think, oh, how is this going to affect my career?
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people around me have had those doubts. I lost a lot of friends, to be honest, when I decided to make queer films because they were like, "You're just going to ruin your career. You're going to ruin everything that you worked so hard for." and we don't want to be a part of your journey. So I did lose a lot of friends in that process of trying to make queer cinema, but I think I had to stick to my guns. You know, I
Well,
had
can
to.
I just congratulate you on doing that, because I think that it's important that
Thank you.
we make moves like that. We're not. There's no label. We're humans, right?
Absolutely. And I think that is the whole reason, you know, I left my job in America. I moved back to India. I decided to try and find a way to represent queer people without making a mockery of us, without reducing us down to just comical relief, you know, in film. So I think
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
very
yeah.
essential. And it takes time, it takes a lot of work, but I'm glad to be a tiny part of that journey as well.
Well, it's about time the world understood that queer people have a heart as well. And you know what? It reflects through your cinema. So let's talk about the new movie with Divya Datta and Shabana. I'm looking forward to it. How did this happen?
How did Sheer Qorma happen?
Yeah,
So actually, Sheer Qorma, you know, after I made Sisak and Sisak won so many awards, everyone wanted to know what would be the next film that I'll be actually be making, and it was one of those things that, you know, people. A lot of people around me said maybe Faraz is just a one film wonder, you know. He's just made it once and he won't be able to do it again. So a lot of that was happening, a lot of that was going on, and I had to take my time to find the story that I wanted to tell after Sisak. And it just so happened that when I was traveling with Sisak, I believe I was at Harvard University where we were screening the film. And there was this one person who asked me a question, and she said, "Why did you not make a Sisak with women? Why did you make it with men?" And honestly, that really stumped me because I didn't really have an answer. You know, my knee-jerk reaction to that was, of course, I identify at that point in time. I identified as a man, so
yeah.
for me it was easier to create that atmosphere. You know, when you're a man who loves a man, it's easier to understand. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to do justice to that. But that question really stayed with me.
But
So when the
then
time
to
came,
get somebody like Shabana Azmi and Divya Datta to play the roles, I mean, how did that happen? Because I mean, if you go up to any Bollywood actor and say, "Can you play a gay role?" Hello.
I think the reason why they agreed to do it, I think it's write a good film. That's important. Write a damn good film.
The
When you write
script.
a good film, people will rally for you. People will come and support you no matter what you do. So I think that's important. You have to write a good film, and I think when you write a good film, you will find the right people to support your journey and, you know, to be a part of your film.
It's very commendable to you. Well done for doing that, because you're breaking barriers. I mean, I know there are other people who have tried to do that, but you're doing it unashamedly, which I mean in a good way, where it's kind of like there's no covers about this. This is what we are, and this is what we're doing.
And I think that's what we need. You know, we need to embrace ourselves openly. We need to celebrate ourselves without any complications to it, because we are beautiful and we are gorgeous and we are absolutely love. You know, so I think that needs to be embraced.
But you know, you know this. I had a message from Divya Datta, and she kind of said that I love this guy. I adore this guy. She was full of love for you, and I mean, they're heavyweight actresses, and to have
Yeah,
them on board is
yeah.
amazing. So congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.
Now let's talk about a bit of the other stuff that you do. You do something called Gift a Meal. Is that right?
Yes, I actually I started Gift a Meal way back in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. And the reason I started that was because there was this trend going on Facebook where people were saying, I will send a book to you and you can send a book back to me." This was going on around Christmas, and I was like, why are the privileged people sending books to the privileged people? It was about a book exchange during Christmas or something of that sort. And that's when I actually decided that I wanted to actually be able to cook meals at home and just put it in my car, and me
So
and my
do you
mom used to
actually
drive around.
physically cook the meals
Oh
yourself?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So me and my mom used to, you know, wake up at like 4 in the morning and start cooking from 4 in the morning to like noon, and then pack it all up and drive around the city and just feed the children, you know. So I mean, I still continue to do that, and that's a part of who I am. So I think when it's important to give back as well, I think that's very essential.
I know, I agree with you. And you also do a lot of work with underprivileged kids, right?
Yeah, actually, my journey with children started very early when I started directing them from musicals. And then of course, I did a children's film called Stanley Ka Dabba, which had many children in it. So my bond with children kept on growing, and I love working with children. I think they're amazing. They are so beautiful. They are fantastic actors as well. So I think it's really been a privilege and an honor to be able to work with children.
But at least it worked well for you with kids. I remember auditioning for the movie King and I had to play one of the kids.
Wow.
I got really scared of the king. I walked out of the audition. Okay, well, a few trivial questions for us. So, who was the last big Bollywood star you spoke to over the phone?
Shabana Azmi.
What did you say?
I can't talk about that. It was
No, you give us a hint. Come on, yaar.
We spoke about the journey of Sheer Qorma and how do we plan to take it ahead and things like that, you know. And
okay, yeah, fine.
Like well, okay. Absolutely purely professional conversations.
Who was the last Bollywood star you said, I can't take this call, I can't be bothered, reject?
What's that? Sorry, you have to say that again.
Who was the last Bollywood star you spoke to saying, I can't really be bothered talking to you now, reject?
You're gonna get me killed.
just give me the initials.
Maybe I think it was Swara. I think it was Swara. Swara, don't kill me when I
well, at least you're honest. Okay, who's the one big star you really want to work with, but you don't have enough guts to call? But you're nervous thinking, I can't call you because you freak me out because I love you so much.
I'd definitely say Meryl Streep. I think that's one actor I really